Hello, hi. I'm here in my kitchen getting super duper ready to make, who am I? Anyway, getting ready to make some lip balm, and it's a super easy DIY project to do. I'm gonna be going on holiday soon, and so I've decided I need to have some sun protection in my lip balm. And the best way to have sun protection in lip balm is to have like a barrier protection, not some kind of an oil that may or may not actually have any inherent SPF qualities to it. But I'm gonna be using zinc oxide, which if you think back to like 80s like beach movies, like, you know, the lifeguards would have a super totally white or brightly colored like stuff on their nose. That was like super zinc oxide. If you think of very super duper natural sunscreens for kids that make their skin look really pasty, that's because it has zinc oxide and probably also titanium dioxide in it. And what it does is it creates a barrier on the skin that prevents the UVA and UVB rays from getting through, thus giving you sun protection. So what I'm gonna do is make some lip balm with some zinc oxide in it. Is it gonna be extra crazy SPF? I don't know, I'm not a scientist, I didn't measure it, but it is gonna have a little bit more coverage than if I were to do it without. So here are the kinds of things that you need to make lip balm. It's super easy and it doesn't take a lot of materials at all, and you probably have most of the things that you need already in your pantry, and if not, they're really easy to come by. So first things first, and I've already measured these out just for the ease of sort of video doing things, but it would be helpful to have like a kitchen scale of some kind so that you can easily measure the small amount of materials that you need to make a project like this. First things first, beeswax. I have some beeswax right here. It's in tiny little pieces. You want the beeswax preferably already broken into small pieces called like pastilles or something like that. If you have a big block of beeswax, it takes a long time to melt because there's not a lot of surface area. So what you really want is something that's already small so that once you put it into a double boiler to melt, it'll melt pretty quickly. So we've got some beeswax and some cocoa butter, which I've already measured out. And again, you can see this is pretty small quantities. This is some cocoa butter. I also have some shea butter, also very small amount. And then we have, so those are the kind of harder parts of the lip balm. That's what keeps it solid. Obviously, we've got some lip balm tubes. You can probably find these like empty lip balm tubes on Amazon. I get them from a sort of soap and candle making kind of DIY skincare kind of wholesale distributor. They are wicked inexpensive and they're just empty. So you take the lid off and you're all sorted. So then into the softer oils part of the lip balm, we've got I'm using some argan oil here just because it's fancy and I had it around. You do not need to use a fancy oil like this, but my skin loves it, so I think my lips will love it too. I also have already measured out in my Pyrex bowl here, sweet almond oil. And if you don't have sweet almond oil, you can easily substitute olive oil or another kind of sort of very liquidy oil like that. I also have, where's all of my stuff here? I have a bit of vitamin E oil that I'll be using. That's just super good for your skin. I have the zinc oxide measured out. So as you can see, it's super white, just like you would expect. Now the titanium dioxide I have, it turns out is water soluble, not oil soluble. So I'm not using it, although ordinarily I would put in a pinch of titanium dioxide too. Mostly because, again, I said I'm not a chemist, but most sunscreens with these barrier methods of keeping your sun protected use both zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. What else do I have? I have a little bit of, now I'm gonna have to smell it to find where I put it. I think, oh boy, what have I done? I think this is castor oil right here. Castor oil smells terrible, but it makes your lips super shiny when you use it in lip balm, and we're gonna be adding a little bit of minty essential oil, so we shouldn't be tasting it. It's also a very small amount. Little bit of castor oil, and what else? Got the zinc oxide castor oil, little bit of, I'm using spearmint essential oil here, which I love. I prefer it vastly to peppermint because that's just how I roll. And that's really about it. So I also have this handy thing. You can see I already have I already have some tubes stuck into it. So what's really nifty about this is like a holder for lip balm tubes. So if you're gonna like make these as presents, which I highly recommend you do because it's like 20 minutes of work and you can make dozens and dozens of tubes of lip balm. Get something like this because it holds all the tubes in. I have them in different places because I've never made this recipe before. I just kind of concocted it this morning and I don't know how much it's going to yield. So I'm going to pour first from the top here into here, and then I've got some extras set up in case I have some overflow. So what do? First things first, you melt the hard stuff in with the liquid oils. So as I said, I already have my sweet almond oil measured out in here. And what I'm gonna do, I've got a pot ready and I did not add water to it. So I just need to add, I added a bit of water to my pot because I'm gonna use it as a double boiler so that everything that's in my glass container doesn't burn or overcook. So I've got my sweet almond oil already in here. I'm going to add in my beeswax, and I have a little spatula here to help me do all of this stuff. I'm gonna add in my beeswax, get it all in there because everything is measured quite precisely. And my cocoa butter, which should just dump right in. Yep. And what else have I'm just stacking all of my empties here. My shea butter, which is a little bit more sticky. So most of it gets in there, but it needs a little bit of a help. Okay. My argan oil. Oh, this is my argan oil. Where's my castor oil, you guys? This is a little bit concerning. I've lost the castor oil. What would I have measured? I remember measuring it. This is very concerning. This doesn't smell like castor oil because it's it's argan oil, but in it goes, and I will find the castor oil after. Where on earth could I possibly have put it, you guys? That is bizarre and weird and concerning. But all right, I don't need it for this yet anyway. I was going to use the castor oil for mixing. I might have. Yep, this is the castor oil and I already put it in. Oops. Well, there you have it. Such is life. That's fine. It's not going to create any difference. It's just going to mess up how I'm doing this. Anyway, mistakes. It's how the world goes round. So now what I'm going to do, now that I've got all of these in here, is I'm going to put them into my pot. I'm going to turn my stove on. And I'm going to melt those oils over medium-low heat. It shouldn't take too long to melt them. It's not that much. The beeswax is in tiny little pieces, and really it's the cocoa butter that will take the longest to melt, but it shouldn't take that long. Now, while I'm doing that, the plan was to use that tiny bit of castor oil that I had, that I dumped in to the thing accidentally and absentmindedly, is to mix the titanium dioxide into, it's called a carrier oil, right? It's one of those liquid oils. And I'm gonna put the vitamin E in there too. And this mixture will help the titanium dioxide to absorb more quickly into the oil and wax mixture and butter mixture anyway. So while this is heating up, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put another splash. In fact, you know what? Just to be sure I'm not really hooping myself here with the proportions of hard things to light things, I'm gonna put a little bit, sorry, this is cocoa butter. I'm gonna put a little bit more cocoa butter in my mixture to melt, just to compensate for that extra castor oil, because I do need a little bit more. In fact, maybe I'll use some of this sweet almond oil. I'm just gonna put a smidge into this little ramekin. And then what I'm gonna do is, while my wax and butters are melting in with the oils here on the stovetop, and I'm just gonna stir it to make sure we're getting everything done well up there. Looking good. I'm going to mix the titanium dioxide into the carrier oils. And I'm also going to mix in a bit of the iron oxide. So I'm using iron oxide. What I have here is burgundy colored iron oxide. And I'm using this as a colorant, because if I don't add a tint to this lip balm, then my lips are gonna be white, like paint my face white like a clown white from the zinc oxide. So I'm gonna add some tint and it'll look a bit more like colorful action going on over here. So I'm gonna mix the titanium dioxide, dump all of that right here into this ramekin. Oof, this is getting kind of pasty and sort of nasty. I'm gonna add in the vitamin E oil. Recipe only calls for about 1 gram of vitamin E oil. So I'm just gonna eyeball it here. A gram is not very much at all, and as it happens, I don't have very much vitamin E oil left. So I'm just pretty much emptying my container in here. This is getting very pasty, but again, it will, ooh, see, even just that bit of vitamin E oil helped to make this look nice and smooth and wonderful. That's gonna be great. And now what I'm gonna do too is, I have a tiny little, I just grabbed a cheese knife because we're gonna use very little iron oxide. A little bit goes a long way. And I don't actually usually use this in my DIY project. So I'm starting with just, in fact, less than that. That is too much, Kim. You can always add more, but you can't take it out. So very, very little, very, very little, putting it in. And I'm gonna cover this up so I don't make a huge mess of my kitchen. And look at this. Where we've got something purpley, little plum colored here. Looks pretty nifty. In fact, I might add a little bit more. Again, total experiment, so we'll see. The proportions of the oils and butters and everything should be great for this recipe, just to make a straight up lip balm. The colorant is way more of an experiment for me. Way more of an experiment, but let's see, I'm gonna turn up the heat on my oils and butters because they're going pretty slowly over there. Look at this. This is super satisfying, you guys. I feel like I'm like making makeup, kind of. Skincare makeup. All right, so I'm gonna leave this like this because honestly, once I mix it in, I don't know what it's gonna look like. So I'm gonna leave it like this. Again, I can always add more titanium dioxide later. So I'm going to start to really stir this. This has taken a long time to melt. Maybe I'll edit out this part of waiting, be like, da-da-da. So I'm gonna pull this out. I love using a Pyrex thing because the handle, I hang the handle over the side of the pot, and that way I don't have to worry about anything getting too hot for me to touch. So we are good. We are good. It turned a little bit funky because I'm using the same spatula to mix the zinc oxide mixture and everything as I was for this because I'm lazy, so don't worry about that. I'm gonna put this back in here to keep it warm for now. Now, the next step is to stir in the zinc oxide mixture, which I already mixed in with here. So now I've got the zinc oxide mixture and I'm just gonna kind of spoon it in, and we'll see. I really hope that I get something here that I'm gonna wanna wear on my face because I don't wanna do this again. I just wanna do this one time and have enough. Well, I mean, really, I only need enough for one tube. But we'll see. It looks like I've got a bit of a dusty rose color going on over here. I think I am gonna add a little bit more zinc oxide. No, sorry, not a little bit more zinc oxide. I'm going to add a little bit more iron oxide because I think that I want to go for a nice color here. Whoa, way too much there. Way too much. There we go. I'm gonna mix this all in and you can see, look at that. Isn't that nifty? Looking pretty good. Looking pretty, whoa, splashing everywhere. And again, no big deal. I'll clean it off of my, okay, more. Okay, so I've got this mixture going here, and what I'm gonna do is get my tubes all ready. I'm gonna set them down right here in front of me. And I'm doing this on a cutting board, which I can easily clean off. You can also lay down some paper towels, because this part's gonna be a bit messy. Here I go. And what's gonna happen, you just fill the tubes up as you go, move from one to the next. You are totally gonna make a bit of a mess, which is legit. If you have some mica at home, that's like shiny minerals, you can add some of that, obviously before you start pouring, and that will add some shimmer to your lip balm. So I have filled the tubes in the center. I'm going to my first set of overflow tubes. Here we go. Here we go. And there's, whoa, make a total mess. Okay, so I have poured everything out. You know what I'm gonna do too? I'm gonna put this back, the Pyrex back in the pot to melt anything that might be that's left over that solidified, that cooled too much. And then I also have, this is a drywall knife. It happens to perfectly fit the width of my thing right here. And what I'm gonna do is scrape the top, and I collected some of my balm mixture off the top. I'm putting it back in to the Pyrex to melt some more, and that way I can also top up any of my my tubes that didn't get fully topped up, like, oop, not fully melted yet. So it's really nice, it's economical. You don't end up wasting much of anything. You don't end up with much left over. So I'm just gonna top up one of my tubes in the overflow. It didn't get full. So we're gonna hope that this last bit, well, it'll get it half full. And that's a better than nothing. And then this is pretty much empty. And my tubes here are pretty much full, except for this one. I can pull this one out, didn't need it. Perfectly good to use next time. And that's it. I'm gonna let these cool for another few minutes, just so I don't mess them up. And then I'm gonna pull them out of this dispenser. I'm going to pop the caps on them, stick a label on them. So thanks so much for watching along, and if you have any questions watching this in the replay, go ahead and ask in the comments, and I will come back and answer you as soon as I possibly can. And if you're watching this on the blog, ask here. If you're watching it on YouTube, ask there. And regardless, look for the tutorial at kimworker.com on my blog coming in the next few days. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye, friends.